predicting that Facebook acquires Instagram. 15 million users for Instagram, probably going to push 30 next year. And I just have this funny feeling that Zucks is going to look at that talent, look at that app, bring it in-house, use it. That's my big one. Facebook buys Instagram.
That's Gary Vaynerchuk, who's the co-founder of VaynerMedia, back in January, predicting the purchase of Instagram by Facebook. And today, Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg shelled out $1 billion for that very service. And Gary joins me now, along with Ken Oletta. He's a media writer for The New Yorker and author of Google, The End of the World as We Know It. Start with you, Gary. That was an amazing prediction.
Not too shabby, huh?
No, why were you so sure this would be something Facebook would? I mean, let's start from this. Assume a lot of people watching this have no idea what Instagram really is or why it's special. Tell me.
It's a very simple photo app. Started off on the iPhone, just came to Android. The big kind of hook they had was they added filters to the photo world. And photos are massive. I mean, Facebook really has a whole lot to do with photos. And that's why this has all happened. So it's a very simple app. You take a photo. Here's something interesting. It makes your photos better. These filters make your photos better. Any application that makes your life better is a big win.
See, I knew it was taking off because I've noticed just generally on Twitter and whatever for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've just noticed what Instagram, and I thought, okay, what is this thing? You know, and so it didn't surprise me that it's suddenly hot because I could feel it coming my way through social media a lot more.
If you take it all the way back to Web 2.0, Flickr was the site that really started it all. And that was a photo site, right? And then you kind of look at what's going on. Pinterest, hot. Tumblr, right? Path, an app as well that's crushing. Photo. Facebook's volume has a lot to do with photos. If you look at this overall, and a lot of people at home are like $1 billion for a site that's been around for 500 days that makes no money, fine. But look at it a different way. Facebook takes 1% of their market cap and goes after a site that has exploded in 500 days to probably almost 50 million users. 30 last time, but with Android exploded. And they take out the only competitor that actually has a shot of hurting them.
So has Mark Zuckerberg done this because he sees this as a brilliant new tool to enhance Facebook or to crush a potential opponent by buying them out of the market?
I think number 2, much more than number 1. I think he's going to leave it alone. Everybody's like scared. If you look at Twitter today, everybody's like, don't ruin Instagram. They're not going to ruin it. This is much more like YouTube. When Google bought YouTube, everybody snickered at the $1 billion play. They stole it. I think there's a chance people may look at it this way.
Ken, you wrote the book about Google. I mean, are we getting a slight sense of another .com boom here when these kind of money is being paid out?
Boom or bust.
Well, you tell me. I mean, it's obviously a boom. Could it be a boom that leads to a quick bubble burst?
We saw that in 2000. And when you look at a company bought for $1 billion that has no revenue, that's a free service, you have to step back and say, whoa, wait a second. What's this all about? I understand it's a defensive move and may even be a brilliant move for all I know. But it's a lot of money for a company that makes no money.
And it's kind of, I mean, you know, for the traditionalists, Kodak has gone bust. And now you see a company that makes no money, that is basically doing a sort of digital version of what Kodak was doing, going for $1 billion. It is a slightly mad world, isn't it?
Well, but I take it one of the things, their claim to fame
Instagram?
Is that photographers who think they're good can massage and make their
or
pictures
that are bad
better.
And make it better, right?
Better, right? And, as opposed to Flickr.
But let's take this as
Which
a
doesn't
business
have that
thing.
conceit,
Let's take this
right?
as a business thing instead of like an emotional techie thing, right? I mean, this is a very massive play by Facebook, and people literally laughed at Google buying YouTube, and YouTube was losing a boatload of cash. Instagram's not. So if you look at it from that standpoint, plus mobile is the game. Pierce, mobile is the game.
Well, that's the key, isn't it?
That's
because
right.
Facebook is actually slightly behind the game on
That's
mobile,
absolutely
whereas
right.
Instagram has been ahead of the game.
Because it's not in Facebook's DNA. They didn't start as a mobile company. They're a social company, just like Google
Well,
was
you
in a
can
social
work it out
company.
because I look at Instagram pictures on my BlackBerry and they look great.
Yep.
I look at Facebook on it. I don't like it very much as a user on my mobile. So I could tell it was going that way. Final word on this for you, since you're such a clever dick about all this, what's the next big sale going to be?
I think Path has a huge shot. Path is a mobile version. Dave Morin was at Facebook.
And what was it presumed to be worth yesterday, and what will it be worth tomorrow based on Instagram?
The word on the street is they're raising around a $250 million valuation. It wouldn't stun me based on this. Google looking around. Google Plus is not doing anything that crazy. It wouldn't stun me if that went for $500 million to maybe even $1 billion or bust.
Amazing, amazing. Can let's move on to Mike Wallace, the great CBS
I thought you were
reporter.
going to say we're in the wrong business.
Well, I think we are in the wrong
think we
business.
all
You know, probably led by Mike, who was one of the best at what we do. Tell me about him and his legacy. Obviously, fantastically brilliant journalist for CBS for so long. 60 Minutes. I remember watching him with awe as an interviewer. What will his legacy be, do you think?
Well, I think if you look at investigative reporting on television, he was the pioneer in that. I mean, you had people like Edward R. Murrow doing great radio and television reports, but no one did the kind of investigative reporting, sticking a microphone in someone's face. And not only did he stick a microphone in someone's face, but he did it in a way that was really extraordinary. He let, which good interviewers do, they let the silence work for them. So he would sit opposite Khomeini, and he would ask him, he would touch his heart, and he'd say, you know, I mean no disrespect, and this is not me saying it, but what do you say to people who think you're a lunatic? And then he would wait.
The charming assassin.
Yeah, he was charming. But he then would wait for the person to answer. And if they didn't answer, he wouldn't fill the void with his own sound. He would wait. And the interview subject would get nervous, and they would fill the void with their gibberish.
Silence, I remember Sir David Frost telling me, obviously one of the great interviews as well of all time, still is, but he said to me the value of silence can never be overstated, because people always want to fill the gap. You know, if I'd have stopped here and sat back, one of you would start panicking, going, I've got to say something. I mean, you'd be all right, because you never stop talking. But, you know, it's like, silence is a weapon. And I think Mike Wallace used that almost better than anybody I've seen, outside of Sir David Frost, actually, because he would just lay the trap, and he'd never be overly bearing to people.
But the other thing is that people got, one of the reasons they filled the void when he sat back and was silent, they knew he had done his homework, and they were afraid. I mean, I would watch people in the White House press corps shout, the TV people shout questions at a president, and oftentimes they didn't have any information. Do you mean to tell the public the following? And they didn't know what they were talking about. Mike Wallace knew what he was talking about.
Well, I thought the legacy, I heard Anderson earlier ending off by saying, I wished he could be as good as Mike Wallace. I think everybody in the news business wishes they could be as good as Mike Wallace, and that is a pretty good legacy to have.
He was also, you know, we were judges together, the National Journalism Awards, Livingston Awards, for journalists under 35, and I was very wary of a TV guy coming in the room, and the producers had to school him and stuff like that. Mike did as much homework as any other judge did. He was informed.
Yeah, he certainly was, and he'll be deeply missed. Thank you both very much, Ken, Gary.
Pleasure.
Been a real pleasure.